Hello my lovelies, and thank you so much for joining me. So very quickly, the word for today I think is quite fitting. Let's see. Fotomodel. 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 Well done guys, you just said supermodel. So today we are talking about the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, and in particular we are going to be talking about what happened yesterday on Wednesday 25th of May in court. But before we get started, just a quick disclaimer: I don't mean any disrespect to anyone I talk about in the video. This is for educational and entertainment purposes, and also I will be giving my opinions and my own views in the case, and everything that I tell you is already found in the public domain, apart of course from my own views and opinions, because those are mine, right? Okay, let's get started. So today in court, oh my god you guys, it was epic. That's the best word that I can find, just epic. The first witness, okay, so we need to, before we start with the first witness from yesterday, I need to say that TMZ, they filed an emergency motion to stop a witness from testifying on Johnny Depp's side. Yes, TMZ, they even got themselves a lawyer, and the lawyer was arguing in court that why the motion should be agreed by the judge for the witness to be stopped from testifying. Now this is a big tell you guys, because why would TMZ take the time to bring up a lawyer to file an emergency motion for something which they have nothing to do in terms of the trial, right? This is one quite telling. So if there is no party, also if there is no party in this trial responsible for anything with regards to TMZ, then why is TMZ getting involved, right? Which it doesn't make sense. It's kind of like the no comment situation, or kind of like tell me she did it without telling me she did it, right? Kind of something to the likes of that. Regardless, the judge dismissed the motion, so she denied the motion. So the witness from TMZ, who was an ex-employee of TMZ, he managed to get there on the stand on Wednesday yesterday, because the judge denied the motion. Now what's even more interesting is that even when the judge denied the motion, the lawyer still tried to fight it, and even said that he would ask the judge to allow him to object whilst the witness is on the stand, and of course that the judge didn't have any of that. And I have to tell you that the reason that the lawyer and the motion brought forward for stopping the witness from testifying was First Amendment, you know, to do with journalism and how they need to protect their sources. So again, goes back to which source do you need to protect, since you have nothing to do with this trial, right? So it was very interesting to watch them arguing, to watch the lawyer arguing, to watch Ben Chu arguing as well, to watch Elaine, and Elaine kind of didn't know how to handle it, because it seems that they were not aware of this witness. You could see the panic on Amber's face when it was about TMZ, and you could see the panic on Amber's face when the motion was denied. I have no idea what's happening with that light. I don't know what to do with it. I think I need to change them. I have no idea what's happening. Okay, so anyway, that was amazing to watch, really, and to watch the whole argument thing there. Okay, so before we go to the TMZ witness, let's start with the first witness of the day. Now this was short and sweet, if I might add. The first witness to take the stand, called by Johnny Depp, was Kate Moss. Yes, we kind of expected that, and it happened. It was a very short one, just a few minutes long, but she was short, sweet, and straight to the point. And I need to point out that Kate Moss never testified before about this issue, and I think that she never testified in court as such, right? So she was testifying through video from the UK, because she's in the UK, Gloucestershire, I believe. Yes, and she cleared up the rumor about the staircase incident and about the stairs, and also the rumor about Johnny Depp allegedly pushing Kate Moss down the stairs. So basically, in a nutshell, because it was short and sweet, straight to the point, in a nutshell, what happened was they were in a holiday, her and Johnny Depp were on holiday in, I believe, it was Jamaica, whilst they were in a relationship. And so there was a rainstorm happening, and Johnny Depp left the bungalow that they were staying in, and then he went out, and then as Kate Moss was trying to go out as well, she went out of the bungalow, and there were a few steps, a few wooden steps, and because of the rainstorm it was slippery, it was wet, and so she slipped down the stairs. And then after she slipped down the stairs, she was actually screaming and shouting because she was in a lot of pain. She damaged her lower back, and Johnny, as soon as he heard her, he went to her and he was kind of holding her, and he took her onto the bed inside the bungalow, and then they requested medical assistance for Kate Moss. So that was the whole incident and the whole thing about the stairs with Kate Moss and Johnny Depp. That was basically it. She slipped down the stairs and she damaged her lower back. That was all that Kate Moss said, apart from saying also that Johnny never pushed her, never kicked her, and he never did anything violent towards her, which is a big tell in my opinion, guys. And also, as we will see later on, it goes hand in hand with Johnny's story as well, but that will be very interesting and very important to note. So please stay with me until we get to Johnny Depp's side, okay?
Good morning, Ms. Moss, or I should say good afternoon your time. My name is Ben Chu from the firm of Brown Rudnick. Would you please state your full name for the record?
Kate Moss.
Ms. Moss, where do you reside?
London, England.
From where are you testifying today, Ms. Moss?
Gloucestershire, England.
Ms. Moss, do you know Johnny Depp?
Yes, I do.
How do you know Mr. Depp?
I had a relationship with him.
Did there come a time when you and Mr. Depp had a romantic relationship?
Yes.
For how long, Ms. Moss, were you and Mr. Depp a romantic couple?
From 1993 to 1994 to 1998.
Ms. Moss, did there come a time when you, while you and Mr. Depp were a couple, that the two of you took a vacation together to the Golden Eye Resort in Jamaica?
Yes.
What, if anything, happened when you were in Jamaica with Mr. Depp?
We were leaving the room, and Johnny left the room before I did, and there had been a rainstorm, and as I left the room, I slid down the stairs, and I hurt my back.
How did you...
And
I apologize, Ms. Moss. Please continue.
And I screamed because I was because I didn't know what had happened to me, and I was in pain. And he came running back to help me and carried me to my room and got me medical attention.
Did Mr. Depp push you in any way down the stairs?
No.
During the course of your relationship, did he ever push you down any stairs?
No, he never pushed me, kicked me, or threw me down any stairs.
Ms. Moss, have you ever before today testified in any kind of court proceeding?
No, I have never.
Why did you decide to testify today?
Objection, Your Honor.
All right.
That's beyond the scope of what we just talked about.
All right. I'll sustain the objection. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Moss. We have nothing further at this time. We greatly appreciate your taking the time to testify.
All right. Any cross-examination?
Now, the next witness to take the stand, and you guys, seriously, yesterday, when I've seen the trial, I was constantly shocked with every witness brought forward because it was just so unexpected. Who took the stand yesterday on Johnny Depp's side as a rebuttal witness? Dr. Shannon Curry. Oh yes, that's right. And she was a rebuttal witness on Dr. Hughes' testimony, right? And long story short, I want you to actually hear straight from Dr. Curry what she had to say, but long story short, so I'm gonna play a clip of that. She is actually saying that it was unethical the way that Dr. Hughes was doing her assessment, and also the way that she was on the stand. So she, as well as Dr. Spiegel, broke the ethics code because she didn't use the tests and the whatever groups and you know, assessments that she needed to do in a court setting type of situation. So she, as a forensic psychologist, she had to bring forward and do different kind of testing as well, and the way that she conducted her testimony, it was supposed to be different, right? And the first thing was that she broke the ethics. First of all, she gave her personal opinion to the jury as facts, right? And when you are a forensic psychologist and when you are in a court setting, according to Dr. Curry, you need to make sure that you make it obvious when you say your personal opinion in comparison to facts and evidence. She never did that. She talked about her own personal opinions with regards to Johnny Depp and their relationship and the IPV and the victims of IPV, but she never said it was her opinion and not a fact. So if you are someone who is not, you know, if you are someone who doesn't know all these procedures and all these technicalities, then of course you can't make the difference between someone speaking about their own opinions and someone actually relying facts to you. So that was another thing that she did. What I found extremely interesting and also very, very important to note was one of the forms or checklists, if you wished, that Dr. Hughes used for Amber, and that Dr. Hughes used to kind of show that Amber was in a dangerous DV situation, right? So according to Dr. Curry, the checklist that Dr. Hughes used is not to be used for these purposes, for doing an assessment on someone for court purposes and otherwise. The checklist that she used is basically used in the emergency room in a hospital when you have someone coming in as a victim of DV with clear injuries and bruising from a DV relationship. So they come into the emergency room, this victim comes into the emergency room, they have visible injuries from a DV relationship, right? And you as a hospital staff, you are trying to kind of inform the victim that they really are in a DV relationship, especially when they are reluctant to say that they are, or especially when they can't really recognize that, right? So the hospital, the emergency room staff, they use this checklist to give the victim who is in the emergency room for emergency purposes a checklist to highlight all the types of that an aggressor can do to a DV victim, and also the signs to look out for. So it's basically like a checklist where you just tick and you are thinking, hold on, is he or she doing this to me? Is this happening? Is this happening? So basically you have all the situations, or let's say not symptoms, but well, I guess you could say traits of a perpetrator, right? You have all the traits there on the checklist, and the victim looks at that checklist, reads everything, and you hope as the emergency staff that you will change their mind and you will make them see that truly they are in a DV relationship, and this is not something which happens normally in a healthy relationship. So this was the dangerous thing that Dr. Hughes was on about, and she gave Amber this checklist. Basically, this checklist gave Amber all the ammunition that she needed and gave her inside knowledge of traits, and so she could take all these traits in the checklist and say that this happened to her. Yes, guys, and she also she also used, Dr. Hughes also used some other checklists which gave Amber the insight of what psychologists look for in assessing a patient, which again goes against what psychologists need to do, including the checklist for PTSD. So in so many other situations and so many checklists, the checklists were basically made as a guideline for psychologists. The PTSD checklist that Dr. Hughes used is basically made in most of the situations for military staff who are coming back from war, for example, and let's say that they go through trauma and they truly believe that they have PTSD, and so they go into the practice to see a psychologist for the purposes of getting treatment. That's what the PTSD checklist is used for. I mean, you guys, Dr. Hughes gave Amber all the ammunition that she needed to make sure that she gets a diagnosis from Dr. Hughes that she's looking for. So that's more or less what Dr. Curry was trying to highlight here. And also, she also said that Dr. Hughes read her notes, Dr. Curry's notes and her findings, and she also misrepresented those notes. Dr. Curry mentioned something else and Dr. Hughes mentioned something else, something that Dr. Curry did not say or did not write in her findings. So yeah, watch the clip please, because I think that's very interesting to watch, and it also explains in great detail exactly what Dr. Hughes did. And this makes me suspect that not only, well, we already know that Dr. Hughes was paid by Amber Heard's side, but this makes me suspect that the psychologist kind of worked for Amber, allegedly, in my opinion, as in giving her just the diagnosis that she needs for this case, not a truthful diagnosis. So yeah, basically this is my opinion, this is the way I see it. So let's watch the clip.
Please have a seat, doctor.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Curry.
Good morning.
Can you remind the jury who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Dr. Shannon Curry. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist, and I'm here today to rebut the testimony that was provided by Dr. Hughes.
Which of the opinions rendered by Dr. Hughes do you intend to rebut?
So generally speaking, there are three main categories that I'd like to talk about today. So the first is that Dr. Hughes misrepresented the tests and the results that she utilized in her evaluation. She misrepresented my testing and the results that I obtained in my evaluation. And she communicated in a manner, provided testimony in a manner that presented essentially her own opinions and the self-report of Ms. Heard as facts.
Okay, the first category you talked about was the misrepresentation of her own test methods and results. What do you mean by that?
So Dr. Hughes she stated that she administered 12 tests. In actuality, she used 8 checklists. About half of those were symptom checklists. The other half were checklists about experiences that people can have with domestic violence. And those are not appropriate for forensic settings. They are easily exploited.
Other issues that you intend to address relative to misrepresentation of own results?
Yes, so in addition to using these checklist measures, which are easily exploited in a forensic context, they're developed for research or treatment only. She also stated that these checklists revealed things that they simply cannot reveal, especially in this context. Let's see. She also misrepresented information, clear indications on several of the objective measures that she offered. And there were indications visible that Ms. Heard had essentially engaged in what we call response distortion. So clear indications of exaggeration on one of the measures that's specific to PTSD, clear minimization of symptoms intentional on another more broad personality and psychopathology-based measure that she gave to Ms. Heard, which she did not acknowledge.
Did you intend to address anything relative to the CAPS-5?
I did. So Dr. Hughes administered the CAPS-5 about 10 days after I did, almost 2 years after she initially tested Ms. Heard. And she did not administer the test appropriately. So she left major components blank. She didn't apply the scoring rules that are clearly outlined with the test. And yet she diagnosed Ms. Heard with PTSD based on that assessment.
What about Dr. Hughes's use of the personality assessment inventory?
So of the tests that Dr. Hughes administered, 2 would be considered, of those 12, 2 would be considered what we call forensically relevant instruments, meaning that they're objective enough and they provide us with some information about how the examinee approached the test, that it would be appropriate for this setting where the examinee is going to have a natural incentive to present themselves in a way that benefits the outcome of their case. Now, on the PAI, there were clear indications that Ms. Heard was responding and obtained scores in a manner that's consistent with individuals who have a personality disorder. And there was also an indication that several scales, we call this a configuration. So you might have one main scale that you notice is elevated, then you look for additional subscale information to get additional information on what could be elevating that scale. And there was, Ms. Heard had moderately elevated one of the scales that can be associated with trauma. That elevation is better explained by childhood or distant traumatic experiences like the complex trauma Ms. Heard reported experiencing growing up.
Okay. You said that Dr. Hughes utilized checklists that are not appropriate for forensic analysis. Can you explain that?
Yes. So, as I said, in any sort of forensic context, whether it's a civil or a criminal matter, a person who's being evaluated is going to have major incentive to present in a way that benefits the outcome of their case. So you always approach the examination, I believe Dr. Hughes said, with a healthy dose of skepticism, but that alone is not enough. We have to operationalize that. So we actually have to administer very comprehensive objective tests that either control for attempts to manipulate the test results or reveal attempts to manipulate the test results, so that we're not just blindly accepting the results or the self-report of the examinee.
How many tests were administered by Dr. Hughes?
She said that she administered 12 tests.
How many of them were appropriate for forensic physical examination?
So the trauma symptom inventory is appropriate. It's an objective measure, and it does have 2 primary scales that look at how the person approached the test. The personality assessment inventory is an excellent test. It is a broadband measure, meaning that it captures not only symptoms of mental illness, but also general personality traits. That also gives us pretty detailed scales similar to that one test I administered, the MMPI, that tell us a lot of nuanced information about the way the person approached the test. She also administered a malingering screen that can be very, very useful, but not in this context. So it's called the Miller Forensic Assessment Symptom Test. It's a brief set of questions that you ask the examinee, and it's been shown by research to be extremely effective at identifying an examinee's attempts to fake a severe mental illness or psychosis. And psychosis is when somebody loses complete connection with reality. It's excellent for that purpose. It's actually been shown in the research to not be effective at all for identifying a respondent's attempts to fake PTSD, anxiety, or mood disorders. The questions are just too odd for somebody who has the wherewithal to be trying to have PTSD to endorse. They see through it. So she used that. That's a fine test, but not appropriate for this context.
Of the various tests that she administered, how many were these checklists?
8 of them.
All right, and what are you talking about specifically?
Okay. So I had mentioned that there were 2 main categories of checklists she used. The first is the symptom checklists. Those included the Beck Depression Inventory. It's a brief inventory of items that essentially show all of the symptoms of depression that a person might have, and you rate which level of severity you have for each question. She also gave the Beck Anxiety Inventory, very similar, but just with questions about anxiety. She gave the Mood Disorder Questionnaire, which is a very brief, again, checklist. It shows symptoms of bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder where you might have an extended manic episode and then a very extended depressive episode. And then she gave the Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Checklist, and that is a screening instrument only. It contains every single symptom of PTSD. So there's a secondary danger here too. When you think about it, given that PTSD is the most frequently feigned and claimed diagnosis in civil courts, if you're handing somebody a checklist that lists every single symptom of PTSD, you're essentially teaching them all the little nuances that we're looking for to give that diagnosis. So she gave that to Ms. Hurd. Ms. Hurd endorsed most of the items, and Dr. Hughes diagnosed her with PTSD and substantiated that opinion by Ms. Hurd's checking those items on the PCL-5.
Were there another group of checklists that Dr. Hughes used?
Yes, so she also, and I forgot one on the last because I don't think of it as one, but previously I'd explained, and I do not expect you to remember, it's called the Life Events Checklist, which is just an inventory of experiences a person may have gone through that are traumatic. Dr. Hughes also used that, and that's appropriate to use before the clinician-administered PTSD scale, the gold standard CAPS-5. However, she administered this long ago before she gave the CAPS-5. Now that going on to the second group, there were 3 checklists that she gave that are specific to abuse. And the first she gave, the Danger Assessment Scale, was actually developed for use by nursing staff in an emergency room setting, specifically for female victims of intimate partner violence. The purpose of this is important because our forensic ethics, our psychology ethics, talk a lot about relevance. Is the test relevant to the purpose? And the Danger Assessment Scale, its initial purpose is completely different. This was developed to show high risk factors for dangerousness and pretty much to help a female who is in an extremely abusive partnership, who is in the emergency room with extreme injuries, to stop rationalizing, because if she has to check off all the things that have happened that year that have been dangerous, does he own a gun, has he, I won't go into all of them, but the more she checks off, the more likely it is that she might realize that she is in imminent danger and then accept resources offered by the hospital and social work to protect her. That was the purpose of this scale. It was never intended to be used as a retrospective measure to look back in time and find out whether abuse was occurring based on one person's report years later in a litigation. She also gave the Conflict Tactics Scale, revised, the second edition. Similarly, this scale was developed for research purposes, to research family violence. Again, there is no control for exaggeration or minimizing. It was just given to research participants anonymously so that we could get data on the prevalence of abuse and how abuse dynamics work. And on that, there's 39 questions where the respondent indicates essentially certain behaviors they may have engaged in, and then 39 where they indicate behaviors their partner might have engaged in. And obviously you can understand that in a forensic setting, the respondent is likely to put a very minimal amount of behaviors they engaged in and then extremely increase the number of behaviors their partner might have. And then lastly, let's see, the behaviors observation checklist was the third checklist she gave. This one has not, there's no known research even on its effectiveness for what it was developed. It's a theoretical, very brief checklist that was meant to be used for therapy, where an individual who had experienced domestic violence could essentially read through some of the behaviors that constitute violence that they might not have been aware of. And if those behaviors applied to them, or if some of those coping strategies were ones they utilized, they would check that off, and then they have a way to talk about it because now it's been put to words. Again, this is similarly problematic if you're in a civil litigation, the person's motivated to have their results be consistent with a claim or an allegation of intimate partner violence and an allegation that they've been severely harmed, then they could simply just check off more. And not only that, but checklists like this one specifically give a lot of nuanced information about what clinicians might be looking for when they're assessing whether violence was present or whether the person's self-report is consistent with a genuine self-report of having been victimized. They're given all that information that we might be looking for.
Can you talk specifically about Dr. Hughes' use of the, I think you called it the PCL-5?
Yes. So the PCL-5 is the post-traumatic stress disorder checklist. This is different, not to be confused with the CAPS-5, which I've talked about previously as being the gold standard. The PCL-5 was developed by the National Center of PTSD. It's intended for treatment. So if I were, for instance, working with a service member who I know had been in combat, I would probably give this as a standard with my intake. Before we do the diagnostic interview, it kind of gives me a read on how somebody who's there for treatment, who we assume can be taken at their word because if they give us correct information, they're going to get an appropriate treatment. And if they give us incorrect, they might not get the treatment they need. So I would give this checklist to them, and then if they recognize some of those symptoms of PTSD, they could check it off. And that would probably indicate to me that I need to then do the next step. If they're checking off more items than not, I would probably decide to administer the clinician-administered PTSD scale, that gold standard interview, to find out more about a diagnosis.
The last thing is what everybody refers to as the CAPS-5?
Yes, the CAPS-5.
All right. What about, well, you talked about forensic use. What do you mean by that?
So when I'm talking about forensic evaluation, that's an evaluation that isn't done for therapy or treatment. It's specifically to assist the fact finder, to assist the judge or the jury in the court by providing information about the psychological status about an individual. And that's an important delineation too. We are not psychologists. I wish we were mind readers. I wish we had a crystal ball and could find out whether intimate partner violence occurred and look back in the past. But it's nothing like that. Really, it's a lot less interesting. We look at data. We have to control for those response biases. And then we also are looking at functioning, which is really the bottom line of the assessment. Did the person have a change in functioning from before the alleged trauma, or in this case, the alleged IPV, to after? Is there a decline in the way they're going about their lives?
Objection, Your Honor, may we approach? All right.
Now, having watched that clip, I want to move on to the next witness. Johnny Depp took the stand again. Yes, he was on the stand. He wasn't on the stand for Amber Heard's side because we already know that Amber's lawyer said they will not be calling Johnny Depp. So Johnny Depp's side called Johnny Depp on the stand for one last time to, as I believe you could call him as a rebuttal witness, if you will, I think. It was just to clarify some things that Amber Heard, said while she was on the stand. And one of the first things that he was asked was about Kate Moss and the stairs incident. And guys, this is so huge, it's huge. He explained exactly what happened. He explained that Kate Moss slipped on the stairs and then he was trying to help her, and apparently she damaged her coccyx in the process whilst she was falling down the stairs. And Johnny Depp said that he told Amber during a storm, that there was a storm outside, and he basically remembered this story with Kate Moss, and he went on to tell Amber about the incident, and he told Amber exactly what happened with Kate Moss and the stairs, and then Amber took this and twisted it around to make it seem like, you know, Kate Moss and the stairs incident. And Johnny Depp said that he was never aware of any rumor being circulated on social media until he heard Amber Heard on the stand saying this happened. So we already know that there's been discussions online and speculation online that perhaps it was Amber Heard who leaked this rumor to damage Johnny Depp, and she leaked this rumor to the media for the purposes of harming his reputation. I think it was around the UK trial. I'm not sure if it was the divorce or the defamation trial in the UK against the Sun newspaper. But yeah, there are a couple of articles circulating on social media and in the media generally about this Kate Moss incident. And Kate Moss, she didn't really care about all the media articles written about her and Johnny Depp. And when she got on the stand, to make sure that she clears everything up and the story behind the rumor. So it was nothing like Amber Heard said. There is also, I have to say guys, I was struggling to watch Johnny Depp on the stand. I'm not sure what's happening now, because he wasn't like this when he was on the stand the first time. I mean, he seemed to be stuttering a lot, and you know, he just didn't seem like the same person whilst he was on the stand the first time. I know that I can't really pinpoint this to anything, because I can't really, you know, take anything from this. All I can think about is either that he is very self-conscious of the way that he's meant to be talking because of what Dr. Spiegel said whilst he was on the stand, and he's kind of stuttering because he keeps on trying to, you know, form his words and find the phrases in his mind before he actually opens his mouth, and so he, you know, he kind of comes across like he's having some sort of a speech problem. I don't know, that's how he came across to me. And from my point of view, it was very tiring to watch him on the stand yesterday. However, like I said, I do believe that it's either he's being self-conscious and he's working out in his head what to say before he says it, or it could also be that this is kind of a side effect from someone who was an addict and he's in the recovery stage of, you know what I mean. Because a lot of us know that narcotics, they can do a lot of bad stuff to our brain. So, or it could also be the fact that he's now being sober and he's getting treatment for that, and whatever treatment he's getting could be affecting him in any way. I don't know. But anyway guys, apart from saying that I was kind of struggling to watch him because of the way that he was talking on the stand, also it was heartbreaking to watch him, especially towards the end when he described how he felt, and he looked genuinely heartbroken, and he looked genuinely sad and very, very affected by everything, and he looked like it was really hard for him to be on that stand and testify. Then also we've seen Whitney Henriquez in the gallery in court, and she looked like, to me guys, honestly, she looked like she was really, really sorry about what she said when she was on the stand. She looked genuinely guilty. She did, especially when Johnny Depp described his relationship with Whitney Henriquez and how he witnessed so many things from Amber towards her sister, and he said that he witnessed a lot of situation where Amber would metaphorically and literally push her sister around the apartment. He even recalled a situation where he was at Orange, which was Amber Heard's apartment, with Whitney and her boyfriend and Amber Heard, and there was a point where Amber Heard and Whitney, they got into a fight, and Johnny Depp and Whitney's boyfriend, they had to leave the apartment so Amber Heard and Whitney finished their fight. That was one of the things that Johnny Depp said. And he also said that with Amber and with Whitney, I mean, sometimes he it was like this loving sister relationship between them two, but more often than not, it was mostly Amber belittling her sister, Amber, calling her different names. He even recalled an occasion where Amber threw wine in her sister's face, and also Johnny said that that's why he took such a loving to Whitney, because he felt like she was very similar to him in the sense that how she was treated, and that's how he took an instant like to her. And he said that Whitney would protect her sister more or less because she's scared of her, and also Whitney, she has been like that since the beginning. So throughout her whole life, Whitney was very badly treated by Amber physically and psychologically, and so probably she doesn't know any better. However, when he said that, having seen Whitney's face, I do tend to think that she does realize just how Amber is treating her, and she felt guilty of the things that she said on the stand about Johnny Depp. And I don't know, I can't help but get the feeling that she seems on the verge of exploding, and she seems on the verge of saying, that's it, you know what, I'm not gonna lie for her anymore. I don't know, there's something there which makes me think that she will, by the end of it, she will go against her sister. I don't know why I have this feeling. I don't know, it's just the way that I've seen her in the gallery. I don't know, you guys tell me what do you think in the comment section down below. But to me, it feels like she's just about to explode and tell everything. But again, I don't know. So, the last thing that I'm gonna say about Johnny Depp and him being on the stand, they were trying to clarify the Orient Express situation, where you remember when Amber was on the stand, she claimed that Johnny Depp, that the photo on the Orient Express where Johnny Depp had the visible bruises on his face was photoshopped, right? Now, Johnny said that what happened on that Orient Express train was very, very quick. It was just escalation from 0 to 100, very quick, and all of a sudden he found himself being hit on the face by Amber Heard, and that's how he got the bruising on his face. And now when it was during his cross-examination, Amber Heard's lawyers, oh my god, I think that the cross-examination was completely stupid from my point of view. Now, was it Rottenborn? I think it was, yes, I think it was Rottenborn who did the cross-examination of Johnny Depp. And Rottenborn said that there are two different photos. One of them, on one photo he doesn't have any bruising, on the other photo he has any bruising. So the photo was photoshopped, right? What happened there was that the original photo is the photo of a less quality, where you can clearly see the bruising on Johnny Depp's face. The second photo that Rottenborn was trying to point out was taken from the Facebook page of the Orient Express. So it was a photo which was edited, not by Johnny, not by Johnny's team, not by anybody, but by the people who took the photo, and then they used the photo to post it on their Facebook page, you know, like a marketing thing, just to showcase that, look, Johnny Depp came on our Orient Express. And that photo looked of a much better quality than the original photo. And again, yeah, this just goes to show that they were trying really hard in the cross-examination to point out that the photo was photoshopped, but they couldn't really do that because everybody could see. And I think you would agree with me when I say that you can't use a photo which someone else used on their Facebook page to showcase Johnny Depp, which was edited to give it a better clarity, so to make it of a higher quality. Even Johnny highlighted that when he was shown the photos and the photo comparison. This photo I don't believe was shown to the jury, or I couldn't see it on the screen. But yeah, it was very interesting because they keep trying now to, you know, find holes in his testimony. And then there was another thing where now all of a sudden there is new evidence being brought in by Amber Heard's team about some text messages that Johnny allegedly sent Amber, to which he said, of course, that he never sent those things to her, and also he would never think that way of a woman. Now, after, the rebuttal, after the cross-examination, Johnny clarified the messages, and he said that he never saw those messages and he never sent those messages, and he had no idea where the messages came from, and it's highly speculated that Amber Heard's team, in a last attempt to stain Johnny Depp, they actually fabricated evidence. This is what it's allegedly been said out there, speculated out there. It's not me saying it, it's just the speculation out there. And there is a very interesting thing here, because I checked social media, I checked, media articles and such, and I also went on TikTok. For some reason, it seems that people who are managing these TikTok pages with Johnny Depp videos, they are taking a lot of time to try and find evidence, if you will, or perhaps any kind of proof that is not true what Amber Heard's team is saying. So I'm looking on those TikTok pages as well, because believe it or not, even though it's social media, there is a lot of valuable information that you can find there, because I think that those creators are very similar to me. For example, I am a YouTube creator, they are TikTok creators, so we kind of take time to put together our videos, if you will, so from one creator to another. And I found one thing there which highlighted just the messages that were shown by Amber Heard's team, and the status of the messages were showing as incoming. So the messages were being sent to Johnny's phone. It wasn't Johnny who sent the messages, but the messages came to Johnny's phone, incoming, not outgoing. So this is really a great point to keep in mind, and also again kind of gives it more ground to the speculation that perhaps Amber Heard's team are trying to fabricate evidence in a last attempt to stain Johnny Depp and to affect his case. But from my point of view, I don't think that this affected Johnny's case in any way possible, and it's very surprising that in the last minute they are giving this out.
Only from Miss Heard's sister Whitney during this trial. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And how would you describe your relationship with Whitney when you were in a relationship with Miss Heard?
I liked Whitney very much. Initially, when I first met her, I liked her very much, and grew to love Whitney very much, because I always, it seemed Whitney, Amber's sister Whitney, seemed to always get the sort of dirty end of the stick, and I felt bad for her for that, because it wasn't new. It had been there for life, and that seemed pretty obvious. So I took to Whitney very, very quickly, very easily. She was a very sweet kid. She was wonderful.
What do you mean that Whitney got the dirty end of the stick?
It was a kind of a strange combination of loving sister, trusted sister and friend, and then lackey, and then, either the punching bag or the dartboard, or the recipient of some rather demeaning and ugly words, or she would have wine thrown in her face.
And who was the source of those demeaning words and the wine that you just referenced?
Well, that would be Amber Heard, her sister.
And how do you know that?
Well, I witnessed quite a lot of it. The wine in the face was something that happened in New York, which I think that even made it into the papers. I believe that even made it into the papers. It was in an elevator.
How did you first learn about that incident?
Miss Heard told me in detail.
What else did you observe of Miss Heard and her sister Whitney's interactions during your relationship with Miss Heard?
They were just constantly up and down, but I could I could sense, I could feel that Whitney was trying to please her sister, trying to be up to snuff, and it just seemed like she got shot down.
Objection, Your Honor. This has gone beyond the scope of the question or his foundation for knowledge of that.
Your Honor, I asked what he observed, between them. I think this is responsive to that.
And his testimony as to what Whitney felt is...
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. Did you ever see Miss Heard physically attack Whitney?
No, I've never seen any full-on blowouts, physical blowouts between them. Tons of verbal blowouts.
Objection beyond the scope.
Overruled.
I've certainly seen Miss Heard grab Whitney, push her around. There were a number. There were half a dozen times when some of us, whoever was in the general vicinity, would have to leave. This is at Orange, when Whitney and Amber were living at Orange. Whitney and her boyfriend at the time, Sean Krajewski, and we had to leave the apartment and wait in the car while they fought.
And when you say fought, do you mean physically or?
Physical.
And when you said Miss Heard would push Whitney around, do you mean that physically push her or metaphorically?
Both.
You heard Whitney testify that she lived in Penthouse 4 at the Eastern Columbia building for a time, correct?
That is correct, yes.
How did Whitney come to live in Penthouse 4?
My recollection, when Whitney first came to stay at the Eastern Columbia building in Penthouse 4, was she and her boyfriend, Sean, had broken up. And she needed a place to go. And so Amber asked if she could stay in Penthouse 4, and I said, well, of course, of course.
How long did Whitney live in Penthouse 4?
It was well over a year, on and off.
Did you ever ask Whitney to move out of Penthouse 4?
No, I did not, no.
Why did Whitney ultimately move out of Penthouse 4?
Objection, foundation.
It's his apartment, Your Honor. He was living there.
Oh, overruled.
Whitney moved out of Penthouse 4 long before the marriage. And it was due to an argument that Ms. Heard and Whitney had, which had to do with Whitney working at the Art of Elysium with Jennifer Howell and those people. And Amber asked her to leave, get out.
Where did Whitney live when she moved out of Penthouse 4?
My understanding is she went to live with Jennifer Howell.
Moving on to the next witness, who is, I think, apart from Kate Moss, the most important witness of the day. The one that TMZ was fighting against to be brought on the stand to testify. And his name is Morgan Tremaine, and he used to work for TMZ, so he's an ex-employee of TMZ. Now, long story short, what he's saying is that, check this out, the kitchen video, so he goes into explaining about the copywriting, and he explained it very similarly to how I explained it myself. And now I believe even more that I didn't get the copyright claim from TMZ, shown as TMZ, but from affiliates, because I am in the UK. And probably because TMZ doesn't have a base in the UK, sort of the copyright comes through a bit differently. I don't know how to explain it, but a lot of people, they got the copyright from TMZ. So, yes, about the copywriting, he explained clearly that when an owner of the video sends the video to their tip line at TMZ, then automatically after the video is checked and validated to make sure that it's genuine and actually the person who is sending the video is the owner, that's when the owner becomes TMZ, because the video was sent to them from the owner, right? So now the owner doesn't have any rights to the video anymore, because it was either given to TMZ or it was sold to TMZ, and so now TMZ has ownership on the video. Basically, they bought the video from the owner. The reason why Morgan decided to testify was because the video that they received at TMZ was different to the video which was played in court, and he saw the video played in court and then he got into contact with Johnny Depp's side. So he said that the video which was sent to him had some parts cut out. The first part of the video, I can't show you the video because of copyright issues obviously here. The first part of the video where Amber is seen, setting up the camera is not on the video sent to TMZ, and the last part of the video where Amber is seen smirking was not sent to TMZ. So basically the video was edited and the parts were cut off from the beginning and from the end. And so Morgan, when he saw the video played in court, he was just gobsmacked, because he wanted to do the right thing, and so he got into contact with Johnny Depp's team. I think it was particularly with Camille Vasquez, and that's how he got himself there on the stand. And he said that he received an email with a link to the video, and the video was on a file in the Dropbox, and yes, he said that the video was sent to him by Amber Heard. Yes, guys, the video was sent to him by Amber Heard, and he was tipped off about this video. So yes, we got that clear. The video was sent to him by Amber Heard, which clearly explains the issues that we are having with the copyright claim on the video. The owner is not Amber, the owner is TMZ. Therefore, because Amber was the original owner of the video, just like I explained myself without knowing what Morgan had to say, if you are the owner of the video, then I shouldn't receive a copyright claim from a company which has nothing to do with anything, because you have the ownership of that video. As soon as you transfer the ownership from you personally to a company, that's when I, as a third party who uses the video, will receive a copyright claim, because you basically gave away your ownership of the video to the company. So that's basically what happened there. Then also, Morgan also said that in so many different occasions he received tip-offs from Amber Heard, and then they went there and they took photos and they took videos of Amber. One of the things that they were tipped off about was on the day that Amber Heard went to file for the restraining order against Johnny Depp. They received the tip-off. The tip-off was credible. It was the verified source, and they even said that they don't usually go to this kind of locations like court settings unless there is a celebrity there, because usually there is really nothing going on at this court setting, so they don't need to go as paparazzi to stay there and just take photos. So the tip was valid, and he also said that when Amber got out of court on the day of the filing of the restraining order, they were tasked to take photo and video of her with her bruised face, right? And they did just that. And he said that when she got out of court, she even posed to make sure that they get the video of her with the bruise and photos of her with the bruise. So this was staged, guys. This was staged, okay? And there were so many other occasions where Amber Heard tipped off TMZ to go and take videos and photos, including when she went for her deposition during their divorce. So yeah, that kind of says everything. Now, I think that Morgan, on the stand, he did a brilliant job. And during cross-examination, they wanted to, you know, kind of discredit him in every way possible. But again, from my point of view, it didn't work. Like I said previously, with Johnny Depp being on the stand as a witness, they are trying as hard as they can in last minute to kind of try and poke holes in the witnesses for Johnny Depp's side. So Elaine was trying to blame him, Morgan, by saying that he's looking for his 15 minutes of fame in front of the cameras, to which I think you should never go against a journalist, because journalists, they usually know what they are talking about and how to respond to you. So the response from Morgan was that he could say exactly the same thing about Elaine, that's why she took on Amber Heard as her client for the 15 minutes of fame, because this is televised. So he had a comeback which was just brilliant, honestly guys. It was just amazing. So again, he didn't really have anything to win from doing this, and he even said on the stand that it can even affect him really badly, because TMZ is known for their litigations and he can potentially be sued for doing what he did.
And what do you do for a living?
I produce esports events and design video games.
And in 2016, what did you do for a living?
I worked as the field assignment manager at TMZ.
What is TMZ?
TMZ is an entertainment news website and television show.
And what were your responsibilities as a field assignment manager for TMZ?
I was the go-between the news desk in the office and the reporters in the field, which you might know as paparazzi.
Approximately how many paparazzis were you in charge of?
At the time, it was about 20 in LA, a handful, maybe 3 in New York, and then 1 in DC.
And what were your responsibilities specifically as to the paparazzi?
It would be to dispatch paparazzi to various locations based on tips or just direction dictated by having a list of sort of hot spots where celebrities would be.
And how were those tips received?
They were received either through tips that we received through our tip line or directly through news producers in the office.
And were tips frequently received directly from sources?
Very often the case, yeah.
And who were the type of sources that TMZ received tips from?
They would receive tips from, oftentimes it would be publicists, managers, agents, or B-list celebrities.
Lawyers?
And lawyers, definitely.
How are tips verified?
Tips are verified by an extensive process. If they come in through our tip line, we have to verify who sent it, that the source is truthful, and so they have to add their contact information, which is a field in that on that website for like name, phone number, things like that.
And how long did that process typically take?
If we receive a tip through the tip line, it could take a while, because that would need to be, if it was a tip, we would need to verify it. If it was media, such as photos or videos, that would need to be extensively verified to ensure that the person sending it is the copyright holder and that we would have the legal ability to air it and distribute it.
And while working for TMZ, were you involved in any assignments related to Ms. Heard?
I was.
What was the first time you recall working on an assignment related to Ms. Heard?
I believe it was May 27th, 2016.
And what was your role in that assignment?
For that, Ms. Heard was filing a restraining order at a courthouse in downtown Los Angeles. So I dispatched camera people to that location.
Under what circumstances would you normally send paparazzi to a courthouse?
Only if we had been informed prior. It's not by any means a celebrity hotspot. We would only ever send people there if we had been tipped off that something was occurring and there was somebody present there.
And what footage was TMZ trying to capture at the LA courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
We were trying to capture Amber leaving the courthouse and an alleged bruise on the right side of her face.
What was your team of paparazzi supposed to do while they were at the LA courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay and foundation.
What were they supposed to do?
Right. She's asking for, I don't think there's a foundation or
I'll
hearsay.
overrule the objection at this point. We'll see.
Go ahead, Mr. Tremaine.
Can you state the question again?
What was your team of paparazzi supposed to do while they were at the Los Angeles courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
Their objective was to capture her leaving the courthouse, and then she was going to sort of stop and turn towards the camera to display the bruise on the right side of her face, the alleged bruise.
Did your team of videographers get the shot of Amber Heard?
We did.
What is the difference between receiving a tip from a news producer and any other source?
If it's any other source, it would have to be verified by copyright. If it was anything that was received directly through a news producer, then they go through that process to verify the source.
Did you do anything to verify the tip on May 27th, 2016 related to Amber Heard?
I did not.
Why not?
Because it had come directly from a news producer.
Does that mean it had been verified?
It means that they had verified that tip and deemed that it was credible, and therefore a camera person needed to be dispatched.
After May 27th, 2016, were you involved in any other assignments related to Amber Heard?
Yes.
Can you tell me about those assignments?
The next one would have been August 6th, 2016, where she was giving a deposition.
So what did you do in relation to that tip?
I dispatched camera people to a parking lot adjacent to a law office in which she would be arriving to, so we could get the footage of her arriving for the deposition.
Do you typically send paparazzis to parking lots of law offices?
No, not at all.
Did you get the shot of Miss Heard on August 6, 2016?
We did.
After August 6, 2016, were you involved in any other stories involving Miss Heard?
Yes, I was.
And what story was that?
On the 12th, we received a video depicting Johnny Depp slamming some cabinets that was captured by Ms. Heard.
And what day was that?
I believe that was the August 12th.
Of 2016?
Of 2016, yes.
Can you describe to the jury how you received the video on August 12, 2016?
Yes, the video was sent in through our email tip line, which is an email distribution that goes to all the producers and to myself as the field assignment manager, because it often included celebrity locations. It came in as I recall,
Objection, hearsay.
He's just describing how it came in.
I think he's about to reveal hearsay, Your Honor.
I'll overrule for now. We'll see where it goes. Okay.
Please continue.
So I received that email, and it included a link from some unknown Dropbox type public website in which it contained that
Objection,
video.
Your Honor, hearsay. He's about to describe what comes from the Dropbox website, and that's...
So far, he just said was a link from a Dropbox. We'll see the next question. Go ahead, next question.
So you received a link. What was in that link?
In that link was the video of Johnny Depp smashing the cabinets.
Okay. And you received this video in your inbox, correct?
I did.
Okay. What did you do once you received that video?
We downloaded it. We alerted the web editor who was sitting next to me at the time. We downloaded it, and then were instructed by the news producer to do what we call slap bumpers and a bug on it, which is putting the dun 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 at the beginning end, and then putting a translucent watermark over it, which indicates copyright ownership.
Okay. After you did that, was it posted?
It was posted, yes.
Where was it posted?
It was posted to TMZ.com.
Did you do anything else related to Amber Heard on August 12, 2016?
Yes, I received a tip that Amber Heard would be arriving at LAX, and so I dispatched camera people to film that exit, or her arrival to LAX, rather.
And why did you do that?
I was instructed to.
How long does it take to post a story after media's been received by TMZ?
After media's been received, it could take any length of time depending on who owns the copyright.
How does TMZ obtain copyright over images and videos?
The only way to obtain copyright over media would be if we shot it ourselves, if it was sent to the tip line, source verified that it was from the original copyright owner, and then either purchased from that person or given to us. And then the third option would be if it was directly given to us by the copyright holder, like a direct source.
And how long does it take to copyright something TMZ has received through the tip line?
It can take a while because you have to extensively verify that that person owns the copyright. And then possibly, it depends also if you can even get in contact with the person, because they might not be super responsive immediately via phone or email that they provided. And then potentially you'd have to enter a negotiation with our clips and clearances department to figure out the cost of that media.
How long does it take for TMZ to obtain a copyright over something received directly from a source?
Something in the realm of 15 minutes just to do what I described before, which is putting bumpers and a bug on something and write the article and post it. It's pretty fast.
How much time had passed from the time you received the kitchen cabinet video to the time it was posted on TMZ?
About 15 minutes.
Did any other tabloids other than TMZ post this video?
Objection
No,
leading and calls for hearsay.
Did any other tabloids?
Overruled.
Mr. Tremaine, go ahead.
No, they did not.
And why not?
Because it was a TMZ exclusive.
And what does that mean?
It means the TMZ owns the copyright to it. So it can't be distributed by any other media source without backlinking to TMZ, and they wouldn't be able to upload that media without getting a copyright strike.
Have you seen the kitchen cabinet video that was played in this trial?
I have, yes.
How does that video that was played in this trial compare to the one you received on August 12, 2016?
When I had clicked the direct link that we received and watched the video in its entirety, it was much shorter than the video we had received, than the video that's been played in this trial. There was a bit at the beginning that was played here in which Ms. Heard is seemingly sort of setting up the camera and getting into position. And then there's a bit at the end where she's seemingly sniggering and looks at the camera. That part was not present in what we received.
Did TMZ edit the video?
No, not even a little. When we receive something and it's edited, there's a clear indicator because there's sort of a journalistic practice that uses when there's an edit, you do what's called like a white flash transition, which covers the entire screen with white to very clearly indicate to everybody there was an edit here for time or whatever, just to make it a little more compelling. But in this case, it was not edited, as I was staring at the machine that edited it and present for the entirety of receipt to publishing.
When was the next time you worked on an assignment related to Amber Heard?
It was, well, there was the time where we went to the airport. And then the day after that, because she had flown in for the deposition, because I think the first time didn't work out. So she was arriving again for the deposition in that same parking lot adjacent to a law office.
And what's that, August 13th, 2016?
That was August 13th, yeah.
And what was your assignment on August 13th, 2016?
To dispatch camera people to that parking lot at a specific time in order to film Amber Heard arriving for the deposition.
How did you know that tip was legitimate?
It came from a news producer.
While you worked at TMZ, did you ever receive any communications from Mr. Depp or his camp?
I did not.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
Yes. So how do you know what video was shown at this trial?
I was alerted by a friend that that TMZ was being kind of talked about in this trial, and so I had seen a clip of that.
Okay. So you watched some of this trial?
Correct.
Okay. When did you first reach out to counsel for Mr. Depp?
I believe that was 6 days ago, whatever that date would be. I'd have to do that.
All right. And then you received a subpoena, I think yesterday, in care of your attorney, Cindy Hickox, right?
Correct.
Okay. And Cindy Hickox represents Christy Dombrowski, Kate James, Robin Baum,
Objection,
and Debbie
Your Honor.
Lloyd. Were you aware
Calls
of
for
that?
speculation.
Overruled.
Were you aware of that?
No.
Okay. Now, if you don't have information that's helpful to this case, then you wouldn't. Mr. Depp's attorneys were well aware of the TRO that was going to be presented on May 27th?
Objection calls for speculation.
Were you aware of that?
Lack of foundation.
Overruled if you can answer it.
Can you restate the question?
Were you aware that Mr. Depp's divorce attorneys were aware that Amber Heard was going in to seek a TRO on May 27th?
I don't think I understand the question. I don't think so, no.
Okay.
It's kind of a
Do you
complicated
know whether Blair Burke, one of Mr. Depp's divorce attorneys, had a very close relationship with TMZ at that time?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled. If he knows.
I was not aware of that.
Okay. And when you said that you were dispatched twice, once to film Amber in a parking lot for the deposition, and then it didn't work out, and so you had to do it another time, how did you know it didn't work out?
Because TMZ.com posted an article saying as much.
Okay.
And I was not dispatched.
Do you
I
know
worked in the office.
why the deposition did not work out?
I'd have to reference the article, I forget.
So do you know?
I didn't write that story. I wasn't involved in the actual
Do you know
journalism of that.
which side would have known or not known whether that deposition was going to work out? In other words, the people representing Mr. Depp or the people representing Ms. Heard?
I wouldn't know.
Okay. And then the video clip. You don't know who provided that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Not testifying to
I
that.
have no further.
All right, redirect.
Mr. Tremaine, why did you contact me in relation to this case?
I saw that there was a discrepancy with the video that was shown here and the video that I know I had received. So I had no interest in testifying. I had reached out simply to maybe try to help with the timeline of things or help with the case in any way, just by virtue of understanding the timeline of the stories that were published and kind of how that can be unclear. But I had no idea I'd be on the stand.
Okay, nothing further. Thank you.
All right, sir, you're free to go.
Thank
you. All right.
Then the last witness that we had on the stand, which was again, oh my god, another amazing thing. The last witness of the day was Brian Neumeister. Now Brian Neumeister, he is a digital forensics expert, and he was brought in to do an analysis of the photos that Amber Heard claimed they showed her bruises of some of the photos. So he analyzed the photos, and as he said on the stand, data, is unbiased. There is no way you can say one thing about one person or another thing about the other person. Data is data. Data doesn't lie, okay? So that's, I'm just saying it in my own words, the way that he says it. But basically, he said that, a photo has a lot of coding, and from that coding you can find out when this photo was originally taken, where it was stored, if there was any app or any software being used to edit the photo in any way, and the changes in the photo. So yeah, he even came with demonstratives. He did video, he made a video demonstrative, well actually 2 or 3 I think, demonstratives where he used Amber Heard's photo in different lighting conditions and different settings. And most of the photos that we were shown and the jury was shown, and the photos that were put in as evidence, were edited. Yes, they were edited. He said that the photos were edited in the iPhone's own editing photo app, and he gave examples. One example was Amber Heard with the bruise on her hand. Then another example was the photo where Camille Vasquez pointed out during the cross-examination that basically that photo was exactly the same photo, but Amber edited the photo in such a way to make it look like the bruise is, really bigger than it was. And Brian, what he did, he took all the different versions of that photo which was submitted into evidence. He created a video showing the photo in different instances where it wasn't edited, it was with natural light, where it was edited, and so on and so forth. And if you look at the video, you can clearly tell that basically the original photo of Amber with her alleged bruise, redness or bruise on her face after Johnny allegedly threw the phone at her face, it was in fact amber with just a bit of redness, like somebody would get redness from, let's say, blushing, or perhaps from them having a blusher on their face. And then the second photo, which was the edited photo, clearly it had an increase in saturation and in color correction, and made the redness look even more red than it was initially. So basically this from my point of view, his Brian's testimony on the stand, also Kate Moss's testimony on the stand, and Morgan's testimony on the stand from TMZ destroyed completely Amber's credibility from my point of view. I'm just hoping and praying that the jury just sees what we see. So basically this was more or less what Brian was tasked to do in regards to these photos. And cross-examination, guys, again, another utter ridiculous cross-examination from Amber Heard's side. Rottenborn, no, it wasn't Rottenborn who did the cross-examination of Brian. It was another lawyer, which I don't think I've seen him. He's younger than the rest. I don't even know his name, so I apologize for not knowing his name. But he was trying to point out that, or was it Rottenborn who did his cross? Never mind, it doesn't matter anyway. I'm going to play you a clip as it is anyway, so you will be able to see more detail. But basically during cross-examination, Amber Heard's lawyer was trying to point out that Brian can't say with any level of certainty that Amber didn't edit the photo in the editing app, but merely used the photo as storage purposes. So she just saved the photo in the editing app without editing the photo in the editing app. Which kind of, it's kind of like in a circle argument there going on, if I think about it, because why would you need to store your photo in your photo editing app when you already have the photo stored on your phone? So don't you usually use the photo editing app to edit your photos in some way? Which doesn't make sense. And again, there was nothing about this cross-examination which discredited Brian's testimony, because Brian, even in the cross-examination, when he was pointed this out, he clearly said that it's not a matter of a yes or no answer, it's a matter of data and reading the data, and the data clearly shows that the photo was modified. Regardless of the modification made, the photo was modified. And from a mere member of the public watching this, and so many of us have phones and we use phones, and like I mentioned previously, I use my phone and I take photos on my phone, and I use my own phone's editing app on my phone, and clearly when I go into the editing app, I go there with a purpose in mind. I want to edit that photo, be it that I want to add a beauty filter so you guys can't see all my spider veins on my face and you can't see all the redness that I have on my face, be it that I just want to brighten up a bit the photo to make it more vivid, more lively, so I'm going into the editing app to change the brightness settings, to change the contrast, to change the saturation, so the photo is not as bleak as it would be otherwise. So that's my purpose when I go into the editing app. I don't go into my editing app to store my photo when my photo is already stored on my phone, if you get what I mean. What's the point to use my photo editing app to store my photo? It just doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense, guys. Guys, none of it makes sense.
Mr. Neumeister, based on the analysis you performed in this case, have you formed any opinions?
Pardon?
Based on the analysis you've done in this case, have you formed any opinions?
Yes.
What are they?
Well, three basic ones. One is quite a number of the photos had been through a photo, at least one, possibly two.
Objection, Your Honor. Foundation, which photos is he referring to? We have to go through this one by one.
One's in evidence. Mr. Neumeister, in terms of the photos that you looked at and that you formed opinions about, do you understand if they've been submitted as evidence in this case?
Yes.
Okay. And what conclusions have you formed about those?
Same objection, Your Honor. That doesn't cure the issue of the objection. We have to go through this. Which photos is she talking about? Which one's in evidence? What exhibit numbers? That's the basis of the objection.
We're talking generally about opinions right now, Your Honor, and we're going to get into some specifics.
I think we have to go straight to specifics.
Okay. Mr. Neumeister, have you prepared a demonstrative that aids in your testimony with respect to any of the photos that you looked at in this case?
Yes.
I'd like to pull up plaintiff's 1303. Your Honor, if I might approach.
All right.
Mr. Neumeister, does this photo appear to be one that you have analyzed as part of your analysis in this case?
There were many versions of this photo. I would say there were dozens of different versions with different chromatic values, different file sizes, different physical sizes. Some had been through Photos 1 or Photos 3, which are photo editing software programs.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to show Mr. Neumeister's demonstrative, Plaintiff's Exhibit 1303.
All right, any other objection?
I would object again, Your Honor, because the photograph in 170A is not in evidence.
All right.
Or, yeah, I mean, the photograph is in evidence. None of the photographs use wishes to show the jury are in evidence.
1303 is in evidence over objection. Not in evidence, I'm sorry, as a demonstrative.
Just as a demonstrative.
I'm sorry.
Can we go to
Published
1303, please? And Mr. Neumeister, what does this demonstrative show about the photos that you analyzed?
Well, they appear to be similar. However, if you look below at the file sizes, one on the left is 712 kilobytes. The one in the middle is 489 kilobytes. And the one on the right is 524 kilobytes. Now, what's unusual about that is these photos will not digitally fingerprint with each other. They won't hash. In other words, forensically, they don't match. But the thing is, you could say, well, it was sent through email, maybe it's a different size. The file sizes, for example, would be possibly, you can select the file size, you send a photo, but there's no way to authenticate any photo that was presented in the way the evidence was collected.
And so what conclusions do you draw from that?
Well, this is just three of many of the same type of photos that are all different sizes and have different chromatic, which means color.
Objection, Your Honor. We just had a ruling on this.
All right. Sustained objection.
Mr. Neumeister, stick to your opinions that relate specifically to what you analyzed about the EXIF data, please.
All three of these photos had to go through some type of transformation to change sizes.
We can take that one down. You mentioned Photos 1.5 and Photos 3.0 earlier, I believe.
Photos.
What is that?
Photos 3 and Photos 1.5 are editing programs that Macintosh or Apple put out with their product. It's for editing photos. In other words, you would put a photo in and you would change the colors, or you would crop it, or you would clarify it by enhancing, for example, the sharpening, or you could darken it. But when you save a photo through an editing program, you leave a mark on the EXIF data.
And what is the EXIF data?
The EXIF data is the data that is embedded in a photograph that tells you a lot about the photograph. And again, in the early days when we were using film cameras, you would write down the f-stop, which is the light setting. You would write the type of lens you use, the time of day, the type of film stock, the type of filters you're using. Now with digital cameras, that's done electronically, and there's about 1,000 lines of code, of which 50 are probably important, that tell you what the camera was doing.
So what's the significance of EXIF data in your photo analysis?
Well, in this situation, I can see that normally where the operating system of the camera would be, which means the version that of operating system the phone is running on, it would normally say something like, I'll just throw out an arbitrary number, 9.1.3 operating system for iOS, which is Apple's iPhone operating system. Instead of saying that, it says software Photos 3.0 or Photos 1.0. That means that the photo had to be rendered, which means composited together in an editing program.
Did you prepare a demonstrative that shows some of your analysis of some of the EXIF data of the photos in this case?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Can we pull up 1304, please? And Mr. Neumeister, are these images in this demonstrative excerpts from the report you prepared in this case?
Yes, they are.
And what do they show?
On this particular photo, and on all of them, it shows the first few lines of EXIF data, the ones that would be most important for this photograph. So, for example, things you would see, the very top line would be the make of phone. It's an Apple iPhone 6. And then the resolution is 72 pixels per inch, 72 to 1. And instead, where it says software on a normal iPhone photo, it would, instead of saying Photos 3, it would say the software version, for example, 9.3.1. And then you've got the date and the time of the photo below that, which is really easy to change in an EXIF editor. And below that you have things like the like the flash. You've got the exposure type, how long the exposure was. So what you just highlighted there again was the date and time. So that's universal time code minus whatever area you're in the world.
Anything else you want to show us with this demonstrative?
Yeah, just below that, if you look, there's some things that would say, for example, a directly photographed image. That is not going to be necessarily accurate once it's been through an editor. It will always pretty much say that. So when you're looking at scene type or auto exposure, these are things that really don't matter all that much. What would matter is, for example, if you're taking notes, the focal length would be important. The pattern of metering, things like that to a photographer would be important. And again, this is just a few lines, and the reason I put these in there was just to explain a bit what EXIF data is. The actual thing I'm trying to point out is the fact that instead of an operating system, it shows the editing program that was used on this photo.
Are there additional photos that you did this analysis for?
Yes, many.
Okay. Can we scroll to the next page, please, Tom? Is there anything about this photo that you noted as part of your analysis, Mr. Neumeister?
Yes, again, it's you know, right there, you've got photos 3.0 on that particular photo. And I think, you know, we've pretty much covered what the stuff is, but again, you see the photos 3.0. And again, this could not come out of an iPhone this way. This would go into a computer, be edited and rendered through the photo editor, and this would then be embedded in the EXIF data.
Okay. Do you have other photos in this demonstrative?
Yes.
All right, can we scroll to the next page?
Same thing. You've got up here in the top, you've got the photos 3.0, and this is throughout a lot of the photos that are in evidence, or versions of the photos in evidence, were gone through photos 3.0 or photos 1.5, an earlier version.
Can we scroll to the next page, please, Tom? And what about this one?
Same thing, photos 3.0. And again, in a photo editing app, you can do an awful lot of things. So when you see photos 3.0, first of all, you know it's not anywhere near an original. There's going to be compression artifacts because it's a JPEG file.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Can we move on to the next page of this demonstrative, please?
And again, same thing. You've got the Photos app.
Okay. And I believe there's one final photo in this demonstrative. What about this one?
Again, if you look up there, it says Photos 3.0 on that particular photo.
Yes, and now, having reached all the witnesses, we are left with today, Thursday, is the last day of testimony, and then tomorrow morning on Friday we have the closing arguments. It seems that both sides have 2 hours each for the closing arguments, 2 or 3 hours I think, and then yeah, it's given over to the jury. So let's try and predict what will happen. Do you think that Johnny Depp will win the case? Do you think that Amber Heard will win the case, or do you think that the jury won't decide in any favor? Please let me know down in the comment section below. And yeah, by the way, I'm also going to make a poll in the community, so watch out for that. So you can give your own predictions on there, and then we will see what happens. Like I said, I want to keep going for the following week or maybe 2 weeks with posting videos around this trial, because there are still a lot of important things which I want to point out, which I didn't get a chance to quite yet, and I think they are very important. Again, before I end with today's video, I just want to say that, like I said in my previous video, the witnesses who came on Johnny Depp's side, their behavior, their composure is very professional. The way that they conduct themselves on the stand is very professional. the way that they explain, it's very professional. Whereas, so it kind of, you know, highlights how Johnny Depp's team is and what kind of professionals they are bringing in as expert witnesses. In comparison to Amber Heard, you see all these witnesses on the stand arguing with the lawyer doing the cross-examination, asking the judge if they really need to answer that question. And their overall behavior on the stand is not as professional as with Johnny Depp. I don't know who got Amber Heard's, the team that she got, the lawyers. I'm not saying that they are unprofessional, the lawyers. They are professional, yeah, no question about that. But obviously Amber is a very difficult person to defend, really. So I think that from that point of view they are struggling a lot. But also it kind of shows what type of person Amber Heard is in comparison to what type of person Johnny Depp is by the lawyers that represent them and by the witnesses and expert witnesses that they are brought in on both sides. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Oh yes, also, have you noticed that now Amber Heard and her team, they are chatty, chitty chatty, smiling, laughing and such? I think that this is a PR move. I think, and also Whitney being in the courtroom is also a PR move. I think that because a lot of people were quite excited and they really loved seeing how Johnny and his team of lawyers interact with each other throughout this entire trial and everything that has been said about them online. I think that the Amber Heard's PR team went ahead and said, look, you need to behave this way as well, so you can show the public that you as well have a great relationship with your lawyers. In my opinion, this is what I think happened. And also I think that Whitney Henriquez being in the courtroom, she clearly doesn't want to be there. It's obvious from her face, she just doesn't want to be there. I think it was a PR move where the PR team told Amber, look, your sister needs to be in the courtroom, so you can show that your sister is being supportive of you and she is helping you throughout this, and as such you are genuine and she's genuine, so you guys have a great relationship. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that because I want to make an entire video on Whitney Henriquez and Amber Heard and quite a few things that I'm gonna point out in that video. Anyway, so this is what happened for now. I will keep you posted with everything. Again, please do keep in mind that I am doing this on my own. I am watching the trial, I am also taking notes, I'm also editing my videos, so the videos won't be published as quick as I hope, because I just don't have enough time in a day to do all of these things at the same time. And also please bear with me because I know that in the US the trial starts in the morning at 9 AM. However, when I see it here in the UK, it's 2 in the afternoon. And the trial basically ends around 10 or 11 in the evening. So by the time the trial ends, I'm not able to do anything else. And then in the morning, before the trial starts, until 2 o'clock, I'm trying to edit the video which I recorded previously, but a lot of the times it takes much longer than 2 o'clock. And then I also have to wait for YouTube to deem the video suitable, so it's not demonetized. And lately, most often than not, I just publish the video without YouTube running any checks prior to me publishing the video, because for the same reason it just takes very long and I want to get the videos out there to you. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also hit your notification bell so you are notified of all new videos I upload. I also have a Patreon, the link is on your screen and also in the description down below. We talk there about everything 18+, everything that we cannot talk about on YouTube for obvious reasons. There will be crime scene photos, there are different tier levels. You'll also get shout outs, the members will get shout outs in every single one of my video. If you haven't heard the shout out so far, it's because I don't have any members yet. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.